The podcast you are about to listen to contains at least one of the following: strong language, disturbing topics, abusive opinions, generally things that aren't appropriate for little kids or overly sensitive people. So, if any of that stuff's going to get your nose out of joint, this is your chance to turn it off.
What's going on, everybody? It's your boy, the head advocate of the Big Titty Committee of 69 Whiskey.
Did somebody say titties?
And the undercover brother of the Bromigos podcast, Matt here. And it's time for my homeboy, Chef Aaron, to cook up another great episode of the I Had to Say It podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome to I Had to Say It. So, we're going to start off Josh, Jake, B-Word, Iceman, Jason, Miss Aaron, Mike, Tabby, and Javier. Thank you guys for the support. You guys are awesome. Feel free to go to ihadtosayitpodcast.com and click on the money tab, I believe, and then you'll find out those ways to support me. If you would like to hear your name added to this list and get access to guest episodes that are uncut and some special episodes I recorded for supporters exclusively. Believe it or not, there are certain things that I don't say on the free feeds that you'll only hear if you sign up for that. A little more information about me, a little more information about other things. Yeah. Anyway, that's all the shilling I'm going to do for the pod right now. So I made a post on a couple of social medias last week that I had an announcement to make coming up in this episode, so we're going to start with that. Just so anybody that happened to decide they want to listen to the episode to hear the announcement can hear the announcement and then decide whether or not they want to stick around for the rest of the babbling. So, coming up in about, as of the day of this recording, it's like 6.5 weeks, we will be coming up on the 3-year anniversary of this episode, or of the show. So, I've lost count of the number of episodes. I think I've done 190 some episodes at this point over the last 3 years. And so that's the first thing I'm saying, which is part of the announcement, is coming up on the 3-year episode. I have an intention to do something new with the show. Now, I'm going to continue the Tuesday episodes that are going to be me doing my thing and venting my spleen about whatever happens to be caught in my craw at the particular moment where I sit down in front of this microphone. But the second thing I want to do, I want to add another facet of the show. And I know I've talked about like doing live streaming episodes and things like that, and I still want to do that too. But one thing I need to do is I want to grow the show a little bit more. So I am going to be adding another episode. We're going to start out doing it bi-weekly. And I am looking for a co-host for this new like spin-off edition, whatever you want to call it, the every other week episode that is going to probably drop on maybe Friday, maybe Saturday, depending on how the schedule works. So that is my first announcement, is I am holding sort of a casting call, an audition process. So if you have any interest in sitting down with me for maybe hour and a half once every other week, just to kind of discuss the events of the world, how things are going. If you are a current podcaster, and you know what is entailed in getting into this, that's great. If you're a non-podcaster and you have an interest in actually trying to get out and give this a go, also great. So here's what I want you to do. You can either reach out to me on social media or email me and either do a verbal audition clip if you have the equipment and the setup to do a recording, or write me some kind of letter or something saying why you think we would have a good dynamic, what you think we would bring to the table, and why you want to actually do something involving talking to me for a couple hours every month. And yeah, so we're going to do this until the end of August, where I will then pick the winner if I get entries, and if not, I will come up with an alternative solution and try and figure something else on, because I do want to grow the program. And then hopefully the new segment will launch at the beginning of September. So that's the first announcement. The other announcement is tying into this show. If you're anything resembling a regular listener, I appreciate you listening every week to me babble and vent my spleen. And seeing as I usually don't have anything to do with the milestone stuff, I don't pay attention to the number of plays I get. I don't really pay attention to what episode I'm on. The only reason I remember that I'm coming up on 3 years is because it's a really easy number for me to remember, because the first episode was on the 31st of August, and this will be the third time since then that day has rolled around. So at that point, I'm going to try and do a 3-year anniversary episode, because apparently that's a thing podcasts do, and they hit landmark things, and I just want to try doing something different. So I'm going to put out kind of a request. If you're a fan of the show and you happen to have the capacity to record a message, it would be great if you could send that over. And we're going to do kind of like a feedback episode I'm going to splice together all the audio clips and all that fun stuff, and maybe, respond to some of them if there are questions or comments that warrant a response, as opposed to just, hey, great job, keep up the good work, or whatever. I mean, to which I would just say thank you and move on to whatever the next thing on the itinerary is. And if you want to leave a message, but you don't actually have any recording stuff, you can call into the phone number that I have set up for the podcast. And that number is area code 815-661-6464. I know I never ever talk about that. I set it up with the intention of taking phone calls from you guys and getting feedback on episodes, and I never bring it up. I never mention it. I'm going to try and be better about remembering to do that, because I did put the phone numbers on the website. But if you haven't gone to the website, how do you know it's there? So yeah, that's the call-in number for the show. It's I put it up during all the couple of live streams I've done when I did the one chip challenge and a couple of where I just randomly hopped on lives. But yeah, I maintain it so I can keep it active, but I don't ever really get any phone calls. I've gotten one message over the last couple of years, and it was actually a very nice one. I saved it. And so, yeah, that would be appreciated if you guys wanted to call in or send a message or email a message or whatever.
Sometimes people have a story to tell. It could be a story of triumph or a story of sorrow. However, it's their story. It's important to keep their story authentic, in their own words, and delivered in a delicate way. That's where Unfiltered Discussions podcast comes in. I'm Brian Howard. I talk with my guests about tough subjects and pivotal moments. I'd love for you to hear their stories. Subscribe to Unfiltered Discussions on your favorite podcast platform. Let's ensure their stories are heard.
So let's get down to it. The meat and potatoes of this episode, as it were. The thoughts that have been rolling around in my little noggin for the last few days. And this is admittedly not something I saw myself copping to or even, believing. But it is something I do feel the need to address, because I was actually tagged in a post about a interview that was done by Tucker Carlson with Andrew Tate. Now, under normal circumstances, neither of those names really inspire a huge urge for me to go interact and see what the deal may be. In a lot of ways, because Tucker tends to run long on these new Twitter interviews that he does. And I never was a fan of Andrew Tate. He very much struck me as kind of a blowhard douchebag. And he hasn't entirely allayed that fact, that stance, that opinion. I do still think he's kind of a douchebag. However, since it was recommended to me by someone whose opinion I trust, which would be McShane from Whiskey Hell, I did take the time out of my day and give it a listen, and kind of a watch. I turned it on my phone and streamed it through my headset while I was doing stuff at work, because fortunately for me, I can actually listen to things while I'm working, and it doesn't impact my productivity or anything like that, so good for me. And I gotta be honest, it was in some ways kind of eye-opening. Now, I still am not a huge Andrew Tate fan. I pretty much probably never will be, and that goes to multiple factors, some of which being he and I don't see eye to eye on everything. We probably never will, because I'm sure he doesn't give a shit what I think, because by his definition, probably don't really rate just because I am not nearly as successful as he is. I'm not rich. I'm not powerful. I don't have the freedom and independence that he does, because I'm not rich and powerful, and that's due to choices I've made. I don't lay that blame at anybody else's feet but my own, and that's Part of the difference, part of the dividing, the separating factor is I do own up to the fact that my current life, my current existence, my current status is all directly due to the choices I've made over the course of my life. Now, do I think this makes me less of a man? No, not really. Am I completely satisfied with my life and myself? No, I'm not. But I don't take the weak-minded approach as he would look at it, and then this is one of those things I agree on. Just saying your circumstances are what they are and you can't do anything about it and you're just going to lay down and accept them is weak-minded. When it comes to terms of things like, fidelity and being able to sleep with whoever you want to and other things like that, and saying that you have to be in top physical shape or in order to land quality women and be able to have sex with whoever you want, whenever you want. Yeah, no, I'm not entirely on board with that because I don't agree with it. I know people that are not in peak physical shape that are still mentally strong, they're not in peak physical shape, but they still have someone that is a quality partner for them that they care about, they love about, and so on and so forth. Now, on the other hand, he did say a lot of things that I do agree with, whether he's being railroaded or not. And it does kind of seem like the charges against him are pretty weak. They don't have any corroborating evidence. They've basically said the people that they're accusing him of trafficking have not co-signed it. They've said, in fact, the opposite, that that's ridiculous. And the argument based on what he said is real weak. And I haven't taken the time to do any real research into it. But I do give Tucker Carlson enough credit that his staff did the due diligence so he wouldn't just go on there and blithely co-sign statements that were factually inaccurate. And with that caveat in place, so presuming he's kind of being railroaded to shut him up because people think he's a bad influence, a lot of what he says, like I said, I don't agree with the whole defining success via how much shit you buy and how many people you're banging. If that's how you want to define your own success, so be it. That's your life. Live it how you want. But a lot of the points he brought up over the span of this 2-hour interview were very valid. They are statements about the way society is going right now that realistically they don't allow strong men to be strong men. They don't promote these ideals, and there are certain things that are physiologically changing that are weakening our society as a whole. And without going into the full-on conspiracy territory, it's not accidental. It's deliberate behavior. And the fact that there are so many people going out of their way to silence this fucking guy. I mean, if he was just an asshole, you could just say, look, he's an asshole, and that would probably be the end of it. But countries are actively trying to game their algorithms in their social media things to prevent certain people from seeing this guy. A guy who's telling you, be healthy, go to the gym. If you be strong mentally, be strong physically, be capable. And as much as the guy irritates me, why are these bad traits to try and encourage in people? And so that got me thinking more in terms of, you look at everything else that's going on, and there are literally stories coming out in the media now, and it's really more and more divisive, more us versus them mindset, which is utter bullshit. It's not accidental. It's to keep the population divided. I say this all the time. They want to keep us focused on each other, so we're not focused on them. But why are news media outlets putting out information saying going to the gym is a trait of right-wing, MAGA supremacy type shit? And I've seen things saying being in shape is rooted in white supremacy. Are you fucking kidding me? Being healthy should not be being pushed as problematic or based on any political or socioeconomic stance. It's being fucking healthy. I've had problems for years with this. There's one thing to be body positive and accept people for despite their flaws and imperfections. There's another thing saying being ridiculously unhealthy is beautiful and you shouldn't have to be discriminated against. You're not being discriminated against. You're suffering the consequences of a life choice. If you're a fucking land whale, yes, you need to pay for multiple seats on an airline. You know why? Because you take up multiple fucking seats. Nobody's entitled to have other people have to eat the cost of their fucking bad decisions. If you are told by your doctor that you need to exercise and lose weight, you're not being discriminated against. Your doctor isn't phobic. They're trying to keep you alive, you dumb shit. Speaking as somebody who happens to be in the morbidly obese category myself, and I'm working on it. I'm working on it every fucking day at this point. You feel better when you're not. That's speaking as someone who used to be in shape, got lazy, got fat, and is now working on getting back in shape. You're a lot better off if you just maintain your health to begin with and you don't allow yourself to come to this stance, because for whatever reason, our systems are coded to be fine with being fat. It's like a sedentary lifestyle is a lot harder to snap back from than if you just maintain a healthy level of activity to fucking begin with. So ultimately, that is one area where Andrew Tate and I happen to agree. You should be working to be healthy. Now, I'm not quite as extreme to it as he is. You know, his attitude is, you're upset, go to the gym. You feel like shit, go to the gym. You just got dumped, go to the gym. You just lost your job, go to the gym. And for him, that makes sense. For him, being in peak physical condition was a job asset because he was a professional fighter. And he came from nothing to be to the point where he's got Bugattis and monies and a fucking castle and all this other shit. And he did it from zero, but through being determined, through being focused, being mentally disciplined, having physical discipline. And the two often go hand in hand. When you are training to fight, when you are training to do contact sports, to do combat sports, when you're training if you're training to run a marathon, that takes a certain degree of mental discipline, which makes you more determined, more focused, and more importantly, it makes you harder to fucking manipulate. And ultimately, that's kind of what I think this is about, because the same people that are decrying this guy for talking about his version of masculinity, and like I said, I hate the phrase toxic masculinity in a lot of ways because it implies that being masculine is a bad thing. But yeah, there are some of his attitudes that I think are fucking toxic because they focus on the wrong things. There's nothing wrong with having a life you are content with as long as it's contentment and not fucking settling for something. When you decide you don't need to have all this shit to be happy, there's nothing wrong with, as long as you're doing it from a place of like mental strength and not giving up, there's nothing wrong with having a simpler, basic life. As long as you have the things you need, your personal necessities to make you happy. And again, like I said, as long as you're not settling for it, as long as you're not miserable with what you have in life, with your lot in life, then you're not settling. You're not displaying mental weakness just because you don't have the $250,000 car and the $3 million house. Because, I mean, realistically, the world needs street sweepers too, you know? It's not like everybody is going to be at the top of the fucking mountain. So you're going to drive yourself fucking crazy because, like it or not everybody's going to fucking get there. And it's kind of a shame because ultimately, at the end of the day, financial security and independence are the things that are going to afford you the most freedom in your life. The ability to pick up and fucking leave so you're not stuck somewhere when you don't like your circumstances anymore. I've talked about it in the past, and it's still rolling around in my head now that I've talked about income mobility. I've recommended you go check out the Jason Stapleton program, talk to him, listen to him. He's very responsive if you reach out to him on social media with a legitimate, thing, not just to be obnoxious or annoying or anything and not looking for a handout. But the guy's willing to share his knowledge and help people, and it's not something you should just turn your nose up at. And he's a very big proponent of financial freedom and financial independence. And those are things that, like it or not, Tate was saying the same thing. When you have the money to pick up and go when you need to, when you can go where you're going to live your best life, you're going to be happier. He's not wrong. Now, his approach towards it, yeah, he's kind of douchey. His delivery of a lot of the stuff, yeah, it can be abrasive. It can be annoying, actually. But he's very well spoken for being somebody who made his fortune getting punched in the fucking head. He's coherent, and a lot of what he says makes sense. I mean, it almost irritates me that I'm saying this, because in a certain degree, I mean, this is one of those things too where I feel I'm maybe a little better grounded. I'm actually capable of backpedaling and saying, okay, maybe I was wrong. Was I completely wrong? No, I was not completely wrong. Like I said, I do find the guy fucking abrasive still. But he raises a lot of valid points. Now, some of his things I don't agree with him on. But when it comes to the mental fortitude, the physical well-being, he ain't fucking wrong. When it comes to having the discipline to not be easily controlled and to not just accept what's being forced down your fucking throat, yeah, I'm all on board with that. And that got me thinking more in terms of other shit that's being pushed that's just fucking divisive and stupid. And it's not accidental, but it's being done deliberately to try and weaken this country, basically. And realistically, there's nothing we can do at this point. If you think voting for a certain individual or throwing your support behind one political party or the other, or anything at this point really is going to make a difference, it's not going to work. You need to take care of you and yours. You need to be mentally strong. You need to be physically healthy. You need to be capable. You need to be mobile. You need to be ready to do what you're going to have to do to take care of your family, because the powers that be are just shoving this divisive bullshit harder than ever. It's gotten to the point where the media has basically been completely outed as being totally partisan, and they've got the government still trying to actively censor what can and can't be said, which is going to be problematic in the short term. We've got Sleepy Joe basically sleepwalking us towards World War III because he activated U.S. troops to go over to Europe, to Eastern Europe. And, yeah, this is really a bad thing. We don't have any vested interest in there. So all you can do at this point is kind of buckle down and take care of your family, take care of yourselves. Be healthy, get in shape. And here's a little thought, because if we do get drawn into an armed conflict on the other side of the planet, things are going to go badly. I can honestly see that being a tipping point here. If they start to reinstitute the draft, there's going to be a lot of pushback. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to say, fuck no, we're not going over there to do it. I don't think it will necessarily go the way it did back in the 60s when they were protesting Vietnam. I don't think it's going to be a lot of love-ins. I think it's going to be the straw that broke the camel's back. Shit's going to pop off. And realistically, even if you're like prepping in terms of stocking up on food and water and supplies, and even if you are assuming, if you're listening to me, I'm going to assume you're probably one of the people that has at least a couple of firearms in your house. But here's the thing: if you got a backpack full of stuff and a bug out bag, but you're not in good enough shape where you can really walk for any kind of extended amount of time, lugging around 50 pounds of gear. You know, I mean, ammunition's heavy. Soldiers train for that shit on a regular basis. That's why they can walk around with rucksacks. That's why they go rucking. If you're not doing that yourself, you're basically a walking loot crate at that point. So, you know, that's why being in shape and being healthy is important. Being mentally sound and having the mental fortitude to deal with this shit is going to be very important as well. I mean, I've talked about this so many fucking times where it's like you have to start preparing because shit is getting like worse than it's ever been in my lifetime. And that gets to be a little longer time every day, but I mean, I feel like I'm being melodramatic, but at the same time, these are unprecedented times. I'm sick of living in unprecedented times. I'd like just an average fucking day for a change. I'm getting tired of every time I turn on the TV or turn on the internet, fire up my fucking, you know, social media apps to check on my friends and see what I can look at in terms of the show. You know, it's doom and gloom and the world's going to come to an end because a bunch of rich old cocksuckers are pushing division to enrich themselves further. And in the meantime, we're all paying the price. We're all, you know, collateral damage. We're not a priority. They only give a shit about people as long as they're worried about getting your votes. That's literally the end of it. So you have to prepare for yourself. You have to get ready for yourself. You have to make sure you are in a place where you are going to not be completely blindsided if shit goes sideways. And I hate that we live in a country and in a world where that has to be a legitimate issue. But it is. So So I guess that's where I'm going to wrap it up for now because I feel like I'm getting rambly, more so than usual. And I'm going to say, take care of yourselves, because if you can't take care of yourself, then there's no way you can help take care of each other either. And for now, that's what I had to say. Thanks for listening to another episode, guys. If you liked what you heard, leave a comment, leave a review, leave a rating. Go to ihadtosayitpodcast.com, sign up for the mailing list, interact with the show. Click the links, sign up for the Patreon, join the Discord. Come and interact, be a part of the show. Buy the merch, support your favorite creator, or support me. Anyway, thanks for listening, guys. Till next time.